Welcome to this explainer on Swami Sivananda ParamaHamsa's Siddha Vedam. Okay, let's just dive right into this because this text is absolutely fascinating. We're going to explore a framework of human existence and reality that is deeply profound, but honestly, surprisingly logical once you really get into it. If you've ever stopped to wonder about the true nature of your mind, well, this text offers a completely radical perspective. It basically turns conventional anatomy and spirituality totally inside out. So let's start with a really provocative question. What if literally everything you think you know about the physical location of your mind, your heart, and your soul is just upside down? Like, what if the true seat of your heart isn't anywhere near your chest? What if the universe around you is actually just a physical projection of your own internal light? The Siddha Vedam completely challenges our most basic assumptions about where our consciousness actually lives. And I promise you, by the end of this explainer, you might be looking at yourself in the mirror very, very differently. All right, here is a quick roadmap for our inside-out journey. We're going to cover cause, effect, and the world, how the mind is your guru, sleep and the mind getting absorbed in jiva, redefining the true heart, busting the myth of belly fire, and finally, the body as a lamp. So we're basically moving from the physical world around us all the way up to the space right between our eyebrows. Okay, section 1, cause, effect, and the world. Let's see how the Swami builds up this fundamental understanding of reality. To understand ourselves, we first really need to define what the world actually is. The text asserts that the world only exists to us through 3 distinct states: hearing, seeing, and knowing. I mean, think about it for a second. Is there a world to you beyond what you hear, see, or know? According to the Swami, absolutely not. And here's the kicker. Without the mind to process all these inputs, none of this is even possible. If there's no mind, then seeing, hearing, and knowing simply cease to exist. The text breaks this dynamic down really simply into karana, which means cause, and karya, which is the effect. The mind acts as the ultimate cause, the karana, while the entire world is literally just the effect, the karya. The physical world around us only exists because our mind is actively manifesting it through experience. So the world is quite literally the effect of our mind's existence. Let's put this into perspective. Imagine you urgently need to borrow 10 rupees. The 10 rupees you want, that's the effect, the karya. Now, to actually get it, you have to go ask a friend. That request, your physical endeavor, that is the cause, the karana. But wait, where does that request actually originate from? Right, it comes directly from your mind. Therefore, the mind is the true, absolute root cause of everything you experience. Section 2, the mind is your guru. Now that we've established the mind as the fundamental cause of the world, we're going to look at a pretty radical claim about who our true teacher really is. The Swami argues that there is literally zero difference between getting spiritual advice from the mighty creator Brahma or from a tiny, insignificant ant. Why? Well, think about it. If Brahma gives you guidance and you just don't act on it, you get absolutely no benefit, right? But if an ant gives you guidance and you actually act on it, you reap the reward. The benefit doesn't come from the status of whoever is speaking. It comes entirely from your mind's active endeavor to actually follow the advice. And this leads us to a really definitive, fascinating conclusion. If all the endeavor required to gain any benefit originates in your own mind, well, then you don't need to look outside yourself for a master. There is no external guru-disciple relationship required here. To redeem yourself from the bonds of the universe, the mind is the supreme guide. Your mind is, quite literally, your own guru. Moving on to section 3, sleep, mind absorbed in jiva. This brings up a super interesting question. Where does this inner guru go when we lose consciousness? Let's use a newborn baby as an example. It's crying, feeding, but then suddenly it falls fast asleep. Where did its mind just go? The text explains this with a really beautiful analogy. Think about salt. Salt is originally produced from a liquid state, right? When you drop salt back into water, it simply dissolves. It doesn't take on some new form, it just merges right back into its origin. During sleep, your mind gets absorbed into the jiva, which is your core life force. Because the mind originated from the jiva, it dissolves back into it during rest, taking absolutely no other form. And that right there is why during sleep, seeing, hearing, and knowing completely shut off. Now, when that infant wakes up, it has a mind, which at this point acts basically as a vast storehouse of subjects. But the baby can't really think in complex ways. Why is that? Because it lacks something called buddhi, or intelligence. Intelligence is the specific entity that actually reaches into that storehouse of the mind to process information and kickstart the thinking process. Without intelligence, the mind is absolutely there, but true analytical thought just can't happen. Okay, section 4, redefining the true heart. So if the mind is this incredibly powerful storehouse and our ultimate guru, we have to ask a basic anatomical question. Where is it physically located in the human body? Tradition usually tells us the heart, the seat of our feelings and mind, is in the chest. But the Swami asks a great question. When you start thinking really deeply about something, where does your focus and your vision go? It naturally drifts upwards. The text compares looking for the mind in the chest to searching the southern room of a house for an object that you actually left in the northern room. Since our thinking, seeing, and light clearly originate from up above, looking in our chest is, well, we're just looking in the wrong place entirely. Because of this, the true hridaya, a word we often translate as heart, but fundamentally it means the seat of the mind and life. It is not in the depression of your chest. It's actually located at the rumadhyam. This is that precise space right in the middle, between your two eyebrows. According to this text, that is the true headquarters of your entire existence. Section 5. The myth of belly fire. To further prove this physical shift upwards from the torso to the head, the text systematically dismantles a really common physiological myth, the idea of the digestive fire. A lot of ancient traditions talk about Agni, right? This fire in the belly that supposedly digests our food. But let's look at why that's actually physically impossible. True fire, true Agni, burns objects completely down to ash, and it purifies foul smells. The human belly does neither of those things. If you swallow something whole, it basically exits whole, and it certainly doesn't purify smells. In fact, it ruins the smell of fragrant foods. So the text argues that the belly is not a fire at all, it's essentially a manure pit. Instead, the true fire, the prana or inner sun, is located way high up in the brumadhyam. Think of the actual sun in our sky. It's literally millions of miles away, yet its rays are powerful enough to dry up the vegetation all the way down here on Earth. In that exact same way, the true fire of your life force sits high up in your head, between your eyebrows, and it sheds its rays uniformly downward to purify and manage the physical body and that belly below. Section 6. The body as a lamp. Let's see how all these really cool physical metaphors culminate into one grand, unifying vision of human consciousness. Imagine you have a two-story house. The ground floor has closed doors, and the top floor has windows. Now, if you place a super bright lamp on the ground floor, you're not going to be able to see out of the upstairs windows into the dark night, right? Well, the human body is just like this house. The torso is the ground floor, the head is the upper floor. Since our eyes, our windows, are located on the upper floor, our inner light, our prakasa, absolutely must originate from the head, not the chest. The Swami beautifully brings all of this together by comparing the entire human body to a literal lamp. In this metaphor, the oil that fuels the lamp is your karma, or vayu. The wick that draws up that oil is your mind. The fire burning at the very tip of the wick is your atma, your soul. And the resulting illumination that gets cast all around you, that is the physical world that you experience every day. What's really fascinating is how the text ties this to the ancient symbolism of Lord Shiva. Shiva is usually depicted with 3 eyes, right? Which actually represent the state of the jiva, our life force. The left and right eyes are Ida and Pingala, the moon and the sun. But that super famous third eye of fire, that represents Sushumna, the Agni burning right at the brumadhyam, directly between our eyebrows. It's the literal light of our true heart. This brings us to a profound quote that pretty much summarizes the entire philosophy of the text. The Swami says, that is, this world is the illumination of the mind burning in the body, just like the illumination of light cast about by the burning of the wick in the lamp. There is no external world separate from you. Your reality is, quite literally, the light of your own mind burning at the wick of your body and radiating outwards from your head. You are the lamp, the mind is the flame, and the entire universe is simply your glow. We're going to leave you with this final thought today to challenge how you perceive your own inner light. If the Siddha Vedam is right, if the world is merely the effect, and your mind is the ultimate cause, burning brightly from the space right between your eyebrows, what kind of world are you projecting? What are you choosing to illuminate today? Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible journey inward, and we really hope this explainer has sparked a whole new way of looking at your mind and your reality.